Welcome back to the Self-Indulgent podcast. I'm your host, Mariah. Briefly, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for the support, the views, the engagement on some of my social media. It means a lot. It's been really nice to start to feel some community doing this stuff instead of me just talking to the camera. So thank you so much for the support. All right. So today's discussion is based on a conversation I'm seeing, well, not just on TikTok, but may it rest in peace, but I'm seeing it kind of in my personal social circles. It's been kind of a conversation of discussion, although I think it's avoided often. And then I'm seeing it a huge push for it in on TikTok. Lots of conversations. I've seen therapists talk about it. I've seen other professionals talk about it. I've heard it on podcasts. And now, like, it seems that it's, a conversation to the general public. And that is the issues we are having in community, friendship, social contracts, and just like loneliness, right? So, we've been hearing for the last, honestly, I think it maybe was more in my consciousness as far as like this global issue happening during COVID, right? Like that was clear, kind of evident way to say, hey, like people are not okay. People need more community. People need more support. We're like lonelier than we have ever been. That is what is coming up in these surveys, studies, tests, all this stuff. There's a lot of different conversations happening. There's a lot of different opinions on this. And I have lots of thoughts and feelings because it is something that has directly impacted me over the last 5 years in a different way than previously because I'm older than I was. So I think I've definitely had feelings of isolation and loneliness in childhood. I grew up in a very strict household, so I did not have the opportunity to develop friendship in a very serious, real way, although I tried my best. Like, I really felt like some of the friendships I had were very important to me and deep to me, and I took very seriously, even if that wasn't reciprocated. And, it's hard realizing that I was more of a school friend than an actual friend, largely because I was only seen at school. So, lots of things, lots of things. But before we fully jump into it, I'm going to set my intention for today's episode. My intention today is to speak my truth. This is a topic that is very sensitive to me and that I take very seriously. It is easy to be gaslit in topics like this from others. So we're going to talk about that. Just to speak my truth, regardless of what I think others may think, and to still show up with love, grace, and compassion. I want to hopefully connect with at least one of you and make somebody feel less alone, more understood, maybe less crazy, because I felt very crazy when it comes to this topic that we're talking about today. Hopefully, I intend to bring some peace and recognition and for others. My intention is also to take some accountability in how I play into what I'm talking about today. So, those are my intentions. Where do we start? Let's start with a summary of what the conversation has been recently that I've been seeing on social media. And that has been that people need to be better friends. We need to be better friends, and that there seems to be millennials and Gen Z are like dropping the ball and social contracts are dead. And what people are meaning by social contracts, right, is just this etiquette, right? Like if you RSVP to something, if I invite you to this, you invite me to that, like these kind of social contracts that give you opportunity to show up in community, to support one another, and to kind of be a part of each other's lives still, even when life gets crazy, right? Like these events that bring people together. And so it can be a large scale, right? Like I think when people think of that, they think of like weddings, baby showers, the big one going on right now. And what kind of started this continued conversation is the influencer Bria Jones. She had made a video upset and talking about how people canceled her baby shower last minute, date of when, they RSVP'd, things like that, and how upsetting that is. And I agree. I think that's very upsetting. I have created full on parties. I think a few Christmases ago, I hosted with my best friend like end of the year, end of semester, like Christmas themed party. It was a small party, like a small group gathering, maybe seven, including myself, seven or eight, and three canceled the day of, late in the day. So it's like I've already bought stuff, I've done this, so irritated, but also not surprised. And it's not okay. I think we need to, one, people are allowed to feel how they feel about whatever it is, right? Two, there are going to be degrees to this, right? This is a spectrum of like what's serious, what's not too serious. But if you are hurt by something, it does not matter where on the spectrum of seriousness or whatever it falls, right? If people are trying to convince you that it's not that deep, they may not be the people for you, because we're teetering gaslighting, and I don't like that. I'm in a place in my life where I'm no longer tolerating being gaslit. I feel it, I sense it, I know when it's coming, and we just maybe don't work. Of course, I have different feelings about different events. Did I continue to be cool with the people that that happened with? Of course. Was I irritated and bothered by it? Of course. Did I say anything about it? No, I ended up not saying anything about it. This is what I mean by really honoring how you're feeling, because looking back, I should have said something. Why should I have said something? Because it continued to be a pattern of behavior with those people. And then you get in this space where you're like, oh, well, can I even say anything now? Like, I've waited so long, right? Like, don't worry about that. Speak your truth. We'll come back to that. I think a baby shower is a big deal, right? I saw another video of somebody saying, I waited later than most of my friends to have kids, get married, and all that stuff. People did not come to the wedding, right? Like once they were kind of in their version of that in life and they've already had it, and that person had theirs later, people did not come to their wedding. And I think that's so fucked. Like, I do not want people in my life like that. Like, you guys know, if you've been listening for a while, I take community and connection very seriously. It's part of my nature. I think it's a part of who I am, right? Like, I even had a friend say, we were doing the We're Not Really Strangers card game. And it was like, oh, I forget what the card question was. And then her answer about me ended up being that, like, oh, when I don't feel connected to people or something I'm passionate about, I just don't feel connected. I start to lose self a little bit and start to get isolated. And that is so true. That is like, that is deeply me. And I'm not gonna lie, she read me to filth. Renee, if you're watching this, hey. She read me to filth. It is true, but I take it very seriously. Another piece to why I'm so sensitive to this stuff is that I show up. It is rare that I do not show up. So it is natural that I would hold others to that level of accountability. I, over time, have less tolerance for the last minute cancels, especially if I made these plans over a month in advance. Then I have a huge issue with it. But things happen. And I think we have let the things happen mental health days, it is going too far. We are taking it too far. I know that was very aggressive, but my voice was very stern when I said that. But it's true. I think I'm saying this as a therapist. I'm saying this as a therapist who has clients. We are taking the I need a mental health day to cancel on the people that are important to us too far without follow up. It's one thing to do it. And I'm not saying you can never have a mental health day. Of course, we all are going to need mental health days. But unless somebody is dying to do it for an event that you agreed to go to an RSVP to, especially something like a wedding that you've known about for a very long time, like, I don't think it's appropriate. And I think what's interesting too is that I see, you would think, right? It's like, oh, who are more likely to do these things, right? Like, I don't think we don't have any, I don't think, actual data. So we should do a study on this. A study, I'm not going to do it, but somebody should do a study on this concept of like, who is more likely, or to cancel or what's going on with like breaking these social contracts, right? I think it's also happening for people who are saying that they're lonely and feel disconnected and isolated. I've seen people who experience that be the ones to be the cancelers. I saw a therapist talk about how we need to be better friends. We have to stop canceling on our friends because they have people coming in their office who are extremely lonely. They don't have people showing up for them. But then they also self-sabotage. And when they are invited, they don't show up. This is such a good topic. It's so complex. I have more thoughts before anybody starts coming down my neck. I understand the nuance of this topic. I understand the nuance of what's happening. But at the end of the day, I'm going to remain on the notion that we need to be better friends, period. Especially if connection and friendship is something you desire. If it's not, you don't, okay, cool. Peace. Maybe this video is not for you. But if it is something you're looking for and desiring, then we need to do better. We need to take more accountability. We need to do better. We need to show up. We need to be real with ourselves and others. All right, I'm going to try to get more organized because I feel a little all over the place. This is something I have lots of thoughts about. So I want to dial it back and just recognize and acknowledge that as a society right now, loneliness is going through the roof. We are the most lonely generation. This is the most lonely generation of people who are reporting this and feeling isolated. There's a lot of reasons why we feel this way. One, okay, so social media has created this parasocial relationship life, right? Social media has created community and also has created loneliness too. Even from the content creator perspective, if you're the content creator and you're not doing a whole lot outside, it takes a lot to do content creation. If that's your full-time job or if that's something you spend lots of hours on, you have to film, edit, prepare, all these things. That's taking time away from actual social interaction. And then there's also the everyday consumer, right? Everybody's just spending so much time on their phones that they're less connected. We knew this. Technology was a contributor to the loneliness epidemic. That's no surprise. Other things that perpetuate loneliness is one, if we feel that we cannot be ourselves in spaces, so a lack of authenticity, or part of that is like these masks that we wear that contribute to the lack of authenticity, right? Like how we think we should be showing up, how we think we should be existing. That's exhausting. That's not real. And of course, you wouldn't want to be in social situations or be around people if you have to lie about who you are all day. We also feel lonely because it feels like relationships are a little fragile. A lot of people feel like they can't always speak their truth or when they're uncomfortable or when things aren't okay because for fear of like losing the friendship or people not liking them anymore or whatever the case is. Again, it's still, all of this is still like lack of authenticity, lack of being able to be self in spaces. It just becomes easier to stay at home because you don't have to deal with putting yourself out there. You don't have to deal with being real and authentic. And it's scary. If we're out of practice, it's really scary. I was listening to a podcast where this neuropsychologist saying the part of our brain that reassures us in social situations is dormant. You're able to read these nonverbal cues to help reassure you in a social situation. That part of the brain has gone dormant. We're not using it enough. We're not connecting it enough. So it's not there. So social anxiety goes up. We're super fearful. We're super scared. We don't know if somebody is actually likes us or not. Like we can't, we're worried about whether or not people like us or, oh, they don't like me at all. They didn't say anything. It's in our heads. Most of it is in our heads. And we don't have anything to calm us down in those situations. And that's really stressful. So social anxiety is up. People are afraid. We're literally afraid of each other at this point. We all want connection, we all want community, and yet we're scared of each other. And I think another part of that is trauma. Like some of us have been through some really hard stuff, some really mean stuff. Some people have been really harmful to us. So of course, like it creates one, we have to protect ourselves, again, the mask, right? Just in case. And then also, fear of that happening again, whether that have been being bullied, that stuff, follows people. So it is hard to show up as self. Fear of judgment, I think what's worse than loneliness is a feeling like you were abandoned or social rejection, right? I think we end up self-sabotaging and putting ourselves in isolation and loneliness to not deal with the fear of rejection. But then it's like, okay, well, either way, you're not getting the social interaction. So you might as well give it a shot and try it out. And then they're also saying that, what is this, the comfort crisis, that we are in a society where we are taking the comfort thing too far. Our brains have switched from being built to do hard things, try hard things, do new things, have like just challenge ourselves. Our brains flipped from that to I'm just going to consume all this stuff and then not do anything and stay comfy. That's where we've switched to again, like these cheap dopamine hits. I really love the analogy of scrolling on social media and doing those types of things, or like online shopping, like all these addictive type behaviors is like the fast food for dopamine. Being able to go get something cheap from McDonald's instead of preparing your meal at home with all the right nutrients, and it's more fresh and it's less processed. Like you're still going to get dopamine and rewarded from that, but it takes more work. We have fast food everything, fast fooded everything is super quick, accessible, easy. It has made us lazy and comfortable. I don't like using the word lazy, but I'm going to actually re-say I really don't like the word lazy. I think it's a lazy way. I think I've heard from somebody it's like it's a lazy way to describe what's actually happening. And I agree. We fear pain. The body runs from pain. Anything that feels like discomfort, the body and the brain have developed in a way that to try to protect you for that and to seek pleasure, right? So in a world of nothing but pleasure, of course, we're gonna choose the easy stuff, the easy, not so great for us stuff. That's how our brains are literally work. So when there's nothing but things to consume, of course we're gonna consume more. And so all of this stuff, it's like honestly, the way we've kind of set up society today is to live a very isolated, individualistic life. And as humans, I don't think we are meant for that. We are meant to be connected to one another. That's what keeps us going. Because, if we don't have each other, then what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Even if you don't like people and prefer to be on your own and you're good like that, like you still need to rely on others to live that isolated life, right? You still need to be able to go to the store or buy food. If you're not the one doing that, you need to rely on somebody else to do it. Even if you deliver groceries to your house, somebody needs to do that for you, right? And so we need each other, period. We're always going to need each other, even with all this AI stuff coming out. We're still going to need each other. Somebody created the AI, right? We're humans, we create. And so then we rely on each other. I'm done with all of my sciencey or philosophical, logistical, or logical. I'm off my soapbox, is what I'm trying to say. Now we can talk more about why it's important to be a better friend, maybe some examples of what I've been talking about, overall thoughts on it, and how you can be a better friend, how we can start doing this together. We're not doing a great job. Okay, so bring it back to some of the conversations I've been seeing on social media. A point that was interesting that I did not think about was COVID, right? I knew that COVID did a number on all of us, but I didn't realize the extended damage. We were already dealing with loneliness issues and people feeling disconnected before COVID. I didn't recognize the entire repercussions of why it perpetuated this problem. I've been thinking about the kids, like pivotal years in high school, pivotal years in elementary school, and younger. Those were the people I was thinking about when COVID happened and the type of impact that it would have. I did not think about it for my age group. So I was finishing college during COVID. I finished 2021 undergrad. I was like, oh, I'm fine. It didn't impact me the same way socially as it would have for others. I didn't really have any friends from undergrad. I was not that person because I didn't leave high school with a whole lot of friends either. I don't really talk to anybody from high school. I just was like, oh, I'll be fine. I still want to connect. If I make friends, I make friends. I had a lot of friends from work. That's where I got my connection and friendship from. So I didn't think it stunted me, but it has. It absolutely has. And I think it has for all of us, right? Because that was 2 years of being able to retreat. There was also this movement of like understanding burnout and like taking mental health case. Like mental health stuff started to rise on social media, and whether that was good information, bad information, true or false, lots of mental health conversations were happening during this time. With these mental health conversations, there was this movement of doing what's best for me and showing up for myself and lots of self-work, right? I have a podcast now on self-work. Then you see this movement of like, yeah, if you can't go, don't go, right? If you need to listen to yourself, if you can't this, then that. And while that is true, I think it distorted things a little bit. Like, I think not having to show up or be around people for those 2 years, like, allowed for this perfect storm of being complacent in that and not expecting that from others. And then with that disconnection, people are feeling uncomfortable in social situations. Anxiety is going up, running rampant everywhere, all over the place, with loneliness going up, anxiety is going up. Correlation? Yes. Because if you are anxious all the time, you have time and energy to talk yourself out of the social thing, to perpetuate the loneliness. Coming out of COVID, as excited as a lot of people were, there was lots of anxiety around it. People lived at home for 2 years, not everybody, but a lot of people were confined to home for a long time. If you didn't already have a huge, strong understanding of one, who you were, right, or older enough in adulthood, right, like having family and other things, these like responsibility, I think a developmental age for the 20s was a weird time for that to happen because you're really building, solidifying, and finding your tribe. So when that was reduced, people came out, didn't know what to do or how to act, lots of anxiety. It became super difficult to put yourself out there. And then also the rise of cancel culture. We were seeing people dropping people off like flies publicly all over social media, right? Cancel culture became huge during this time as well. So, again, referring back to that mask. So now people are really scared to show up as self. So when you can't show up as self and you're wearing masks all the time, you're using a lot of energy. It requires a lot of energy to be a fabricated version of yourself. So of course you don't want to go expend energy. And then if you're more introverted to begin with, it already takes energy. Yeah, I think my experience in trying to create lasting, strong relationships in adulthood over the last 5 years has been extremely difficult and frustrating. To speak from experience, I have felt crazy. I have felt crazy with the way in which people cancel plans, especially with no follow up. I have tried many things. I've tried planning months ahead of time. I've tried the week of, I've tried discussing what people prefer to make people more comfy. I flex a lot and largely don't even end up necessarily doing what I want to do, like deeply, eh, just for the sake of being able to see people and then to still have it be canceled. With no attempt to reschedule. I'm not doing it anymore. I can't, especially as somebody who is naturally a planner. Y'all gonna keep hearing me say this. I'm a Virgo. I'm a planner. I'm an organizer. I would like to know what my week looks like. And I'm going to stand in that. I like knowing what my week is going to look like. I'm allowed to say that. And if somebody doesn't operate that way, they can let me know that they don't operate that way. Then we negotiate and we try to compromise and we talk about it, right? I have done a lot of gymnastics in my head, being very analytical, understanding why people do what they do. That does not mean that what you do did not impact the person in which was affected by the action you took. I can understand why you did what you did. I can empathize with why you did what you did. And I'm also allowed to feel and be impacted by what you did. Like you still took an action that had consequences. I spent a lot of these last few years in my head trying to find grace and feeling crazy for having strong feelings and frustrations about it and saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna say anything." Like you can ask my best friend. Like there's plenty of times where I haven't said anything, or like I'll temperature check with other people, and it just made the decision to not say anything because I understood for myself and I was cool with myself. But if there are people, I urge you guys, if there are people, if it's happening with people you deeply care for and or truly want to see a future with, you have to say something. And it doesn't look like you, right? Nobody responsible to you did this, you did that. But to tell your friend, I feel like this. I feel incredibly lonely. I feel like I don't matter. I feel unprioritized. I do not feel like a priority. It's a hard conversation, but it needs to be had, right? Because we're going to keep playing these games. And not for nothing. As I get older, I'm getting too old for the games. I don't have the time. I'm still learning how to make time to take care of my damn self. So I don't have time for the games or the back and forth. I think it's important for you to assess, right? And there are different types of friends for different types of things. That's also something that's really important. I think we need to understand and realize that not all of your friends are your best friends. There are going to be work friends, there are going to be school friends, there are going to be best friends, there are going to be sisters, or like, you know what I mean? Like family, like there are going to be levels. And you need to determine and understand your expectations for those levels. I had the, I think, false understanding, not false understanding. I think my expectations were high, but I think when it comes to friends that are not on that top tier level or that I'm not as close to, I was feeling the same way, I think, generally across the board, and maybe holding the standard a little too high in far as my expectations. But that's just me. If you make a plan with me, you make a plan with me. Don't waste my time. That's kind of just how I was seeing it. But now I'm just not going to plan anything. I'm at a point where I'm understanding where I stand. It has been made very clear to me, whether that's the intention or not. I am not going out of my way to plan anymore. It's just not going to happen. It depends on the person, the place, and all the other stuff. But in certain situations with certain people, I'm just not going to initiate. And that can change, right? That's not to say that it's going to be stuck that way. I think we can also be flexible, right? So if people started to show up for me or really showed me that was important to them, I would be open to it because that's what builds friendships. When you show people that they are important to you, you care about them, then that's when we can start to reciprocate all that stuff. I've done things for too long without reciprocity. Not doing that anymore. I think something else that might be great to reflect on in this conversation that we're having too, if you feel like, I don't have any friends that are showing up for me for real. Like, I don't have any. All of these people are not doing it. And I also don't feel comfortable to have the conversation. I think it requires some self reflection as well. If you're dealing with like super flaky people, and most of the people or all of them in your life are flaky, then we need to do more internal work about the type of people you're attracting or giving your time to. It could be helpful to reflect on what you want from a friend or your community, what you want it to look like, as if you were trying to manifest it, right? What type of friend do I want? What type of community do I want? What do I want to get from my community? How do I want to feel when I'm in my community? What are the types of things we do for each other? And then ask yourself, what type of friend do I want to be? Reflect on both and then see if like these people are measuring, the people in your life, if they're measuring up to that, which if you're watching this, probably not. But then you can determine who can you, from your, your people in your life, who can you have a conversation with about what you're looking for, right? Because again, I'm not saying to cut off people, right? Because again, different types of friends. We all have different types of friends and we all have different types of friends for different situations. You don't necessarily have to cut people off, but maybe start with what you're looking for, the type of friend you want to be, the type of friend that you want, and then have conversations with people who you feel you can have conversations with about, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I need in my life right now. Is this something that you can do? And honestly, if you can't have that conversation, if you know you cannot have that conversation, then and you're like really scared, or like these may not be the people for you, right? Because when you think about your tribe, your community, your soul sisters, brothers, people, you should be able to talk to them about anything, right? Especially if they're going to last the journey of life. And not everybody is meant to last your life journey. They're just not. So I think it's a really good time to really get serious and really reflect because we all deserve better. We truly all deserve so much better. And there are people out there. I would not be able to have this conversation if I did not meet my best friend in grad school. I would not have been able to have this conversation because she helped show me how I deserve to be treated and that it's possible. I had not been treated that way, taken that seriously, and seen and wanted to be clearly I was appreciated and seen. I've never had that before in very intense and in a way that was what I was looking for. Like she was able to show me things that I didn't even realize I needed, but also affirm some of the things that I felt like I deserved from a friend. So now the bar is high. My tolerance now is slim to none when it comes to taking people seriously. It's not to say that I only make friends with people who are going to be part of my forever tribe. That's not true. I just am not putting the same amount of energy into other people that I am putting into my best friend. I need to make sure that's understood for myself so that I don't get butt hurt, right? Because people are still going to do what people are going to do. And it has to do with how you handle it. Either you say something, have the conversation, reflect on what you're looking for, have the conversation, see how that goes and keep it pushing, or you don't and you just move on and continue to look and be really clear on your expectations. I think as you get more clear on what you're looking for, the universe has a funny way and of like showing it to you and presenting you with opportunity. Take the opportunity, get out of your comfort zone, try new things, be open to meeting new people. And if you hit it off with people, have these conversations earlier on as far as the type of friendships that you're looking for, the type of community that you're looking for, right? Because again, if this is like a forever friend, you should be able to talk to them about anything. So that type of conversation should not scare anybody off, especially when everybody is lonely. These should not be weird conversations to have if everybody is feeling lonely for the most part, right? It has been a time. It has been a time. But I've learned a lot about myself through some of these experiences. And it's important to, everything we go through, there's a reason, right? And so, if nothing else, it has showed me that this is something that I care deeply about. People who are going to be on my life's journey for a long time, I need them to be able to show up for me. And if they are not, I'm going to use the finite energy I have on other things. If you're still like, okay, Mariah, but where the fuck do I find these people? I don't want to hear the universe is gonna. I hear you. I am aware because again, I still have a singular bestie boo, right? So I would say go listen to my last episode, first of all. And second of all, because I talk a lot about play. Part of that conversation was that play is a great way to find connection with others. The reason I say that is because play and finding the things that light you up and bring you to almost like childlike state and allow you to fuck around and find out is so important to your life, to your fulfillment, to your enjoyment, to creation, to play is so important, right? I think that's another way to find connection because if you're going out there and playing and finding new ways to be comfortable, if you're figuring out how to play more in life, think about things that really lit you up when you were younger, that really gave you energy, right? And go do those things out in the world and see who you meet, right? I think that's an easy way to find people who are going to be a better fit for you, right? Instead of just these like institution no ways of finding them, right? Like, so my friends have come from school and work, right? Those are situational. And then I fall into like the convenience friendships. Oh, that's something I didn't talk about. Convenience friendships have come to realize I do not want to be treated as a convenient friend. I don't. I'm sorry. I canceling or not making plans because it's not convenient for you don't hit me up then. I have a really hard time with that because I will go above and beyond. I don't care how far the drive is. I don't care where it is. Like, if it is for somebody I care about, I'm going to do it. And it's also a challenge for myself because it takes me out of my comfort zone, which I need to do more of because I want to live. So, I have to come out of my comfort zone. Staying in comfort and convenience is going to continue to perpetuate loneliness and isolation. It is going to continue to feel like we're letting each other down. And we don't have to do that. We don't. I'm not going to lie. I think there was a brief period of time where this whole situation and the way that people, because people were doing it to me, I was like, oh, I guess I could do it to them. I don't really want to go to this thing tonight, so I'm just not going to, even though I had already said I was going to. But then it feels like I have to lie. And I don't wanna lie, right? Because I don't have a good reason. If you have to lie about it, that means you don't have a good reason not to go. So you really need to ask yourself why you're not going, why you're not showing up for somebody, right? When you want people to show up for you too. And I take accountability for doing that. A lot of it came from this, like, well, they've done it to me, so fuck it, right? Like, that's horrible. I don't want to exist like that. I don't want to do that anymore because now that this conversation is happening and people are really naming something I've been experiencing, it has empowered me to be like, nah, fuck that. I'm going to show up the way I know is right to show up for people. And if it cannot be reciprocated, then I need to reassess and reanalyze that. Figure out what I am comfortable with and what I'm not comfortable with. I am not comfortable with convenience friendships. I could do a work friendship, I could do a school friendship. I am not participating in friendships that only exist on what's convenient. If that starts to be a pattern, I'm going to pull back and reassess. Right. And so it's okay for you to have your own boundaries with those things. Don't let people tell you that, like, oh, you're taking this too seriously. Like, it wasn't even that deep. We will no longer be gaslit in 2025. That was such a buzzword for so many years, being gaslighting. And I hopefully won't have to be talking about it much more because it's something that I will not be tolerating ever again. And I urge y'all to not be gaslit either and to stand up for yourself because you are totally valid and you can feel how you feel at the end of the day. People can have whatever reason, like I said before, to do the things that they do, but they also have to take accountability for the fact that regardless of reasoning, that action had a consequence, period. Period. Wow, I said that a lot. Can y'all tell that this is something I feel strongly about because I've said period a lot. And it's funny. I did an episode last year. It was probably end of 2023, where I talked about redefining your inner circle and why that's so important. It's so cool to be doing this topic today because I feel like I probably talked about some of similar stuff in this, but I've grown a lot since then. I think then I was talking more about finding your people in terms of what's a fit, what's not a good fit. I think I also talked about gaslighting. But now this is a very targeted, specific area, and it's very much grounded in, like, I know my worth at this point. I know my worth. I know how I want to show up for people. So now I know how I expect others to show up for me. And so, yeah, I intend to do more play, find ways to do more play. I started doing yoga, and I really like my yoga instructor. I haven't made any friends in the classes that I've gone to, but I did sign up for her retreats. I will be going on my first retreat in May of 2025. So I'm very excited to do that. It's a 3-day retreat and something I've never experienced before. It's going to be with people, I don't know anybody there but my yoga instructor. So that'll be fun. I'm challenging myself to see how this goes and who I vibe with and just be open to conversation. That's a really intense way to put yourself out there, but we know me. I'm a little intense. So I don't mind doing that. I'd rather just rip off the band-aid if I'm being quite honest with you. And also there's just a lot of, like, personal, spiritual benefits that I'm hoping to get from this experience as well. So it was also very me oriented. I was actually thinking about community second. When I did that, it was more about my experience and what I was going to get out of it. This was a great conversation, y'all. I rambled and ranted a lot. I don't even know if I said everything I wanted to say because I feel strongly about it. It is an issue that is happening right now. This conversation was to remind you that you're not tripping and to find the people who show up for you the way you deserve to be shown up for. And you have full permission. If you needed permission, full permission to expect to be treated the way that you treat others. Let's be real here. And full permission to hold people accountable. That includes myself. I have played in this game too, but this is a declaration that I will no longer be playing this game. It is okay to hold people accountable. If you got to find new people, you got to find new people. Hopefully, some of this was helpful in how to do that. Just go play. Go do something that you enjoy doing that'll bring down some of the guards because you enjoy it. And just find it in a social setting. Some people will even find people like, even if that, be more open to when you go to the gym, maybe take an AirPod out, right? If you're on a trail, you run all the time, you see the same people, take it out so that people know you're there. The gym is hard because I know when it comes to working out, it's a little difficult because people are in the zone. I don't expect you to interrupt people's workouts because I don't do that. So I'm open to being interrupted though. So maybe I will take take an earphone. Well, it depends on who it is. The men, I'm not talking to you. Sorry, I'm taken. So not talking to you. But yeah, just I say be more open. Find something that you feel good and passionate about and go do it. Because then you'll find other people who like it too or are willing to try it. And then y'all could talk about that, right? The pressure is off. You're in an environment you like, you can do it. So give that a shot. Maybe you'll find your people and just keep doing it and don't give up because at the very least, at least you went and did something fun for you in community, even if it doesn't mean lasting friendships. It'll give you some good practice. Okay, I think I'm actually done. I will be wrapping up now. So please let me know if you have any questions or comments please let me know if you had any questions, comments, thoughts, what your experience has been like regarding this topic and just your thoughts and feelings. I'm very curious to see what everybody's experiences have been. I know I'm not alone in this. I know that clearly this is an important conversation because it's happening more and more now. You are not alone. So shoot me a message, DM, comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this anywhere else, please give me a 5-star rating if you like this episode. It helps more than you know. And I will see you next time. Love you guys. Bye.